In the history of modern business, companies make mistakes. Blockbuster laughed at Netflix. Kodak invented the digital camera, then hid it in a closet. Those were billion-dollar mistakes. They hurt, but they happen. But what if a company didn't just lose billions? What if a company actively, arrogantly, and repeatedly walked away from trillions of dollars? In 2016, a telecommunications giant named Verizon bought the core internet business of Yahoo. The price tag? $4.8 billion. To the average person, $4.8 billion sounds like a massive victory. But on Wall Street, it was a funeral. It was the humiliating final gasp of a company that was once the undisputed king of the digital world. A company that, at its peak, was worth $125 billion. This isn't just a story of a business failing. This is a story of unprecedented corporate hubris. A story of a board of directors that constantly tried to pinch pennies on billion-dollar deals, and in the process, handed the keys to the future to their deadliest rivals. This is the mini encyclopedia of how Yahoo managed to dodge every single opportunity to own the modern internet, becoming the ultimate cautionary tale in business history. To understand the collapse, you need to understand the absolute dominance of the empire. In the late 1990s, if you were on the internet, you were on Yahoo. They weren't just a search engine, they were the front page of the digital world. News, finance, email, weather, they were the gatekeepers. If Yahoo didn't link to you, you didn't exist. By 1998, they were swimming in cash and invincibility. And that's exactly when two Stanford graduate students walked into their office. Their names were Larry Page and Sergey Brin. They had created a little search algorithm they called Backrub, which they later renamed Google. But they didn't want to run a business. They wanted to finish their PhDs. So they offered to sell their algorithm to Yahoo. The asking price, a measly $1 million. Yahoo's executives listened to the pitch, smiled, and said no. Why? Because they fundamentally misunderstood what the internet was about to become. Yahoo's entire business model was a walled garden. They wanted to keep users trapped on yahoo.com for as long as possible to show them banner ads. Google's algorithm was too good. It found what you were looking for instantly and sent you away to another website. To Yahoo, a fast exit was bad for business. They completely failed to realize that the company that controlled the directions would ultimately control the world. Today, Alphabet, the parent company of Google, fluctuates around a $2 trillion market cap. Yahoo missed it for $1 million bucks. But don't worry, they would get a chance to fix their mistake, and they would blow that one too. Fast forward to 2002. The dot-com bubble has burst, the dust has settled, and Yahoo realizes something terrifying. Google isn't just a college project anymore, it's a monster. Yahoo's CEO at the time was Terry Semel, a former Hollywood studio executive. Semel knew movies, he knew media, but he didn't have the technological foresight required for Silicon Valley. Still, Semel knew he needed Google, so he flew to the Bay Area and offered to buy them. The opening bid, $3 billion. Larry Page and Sergey Brin looked at the offer. They knew their worth. They countered, "We want $5 billion. A $2 billion difference. In the grand scheme of corporate acquisitions, especially for a company with Yahoo's resources at the time, it was a highly negotiable gap. But Semel possessed a fatal flaw that would become Yahoo's trademark. He wanted a bargain. He refused to pay the extra $2 billion. He walked away from the table, convinced Google would eventually crack. They didn't. 2 years later, Google went public. Within a few short years, they entirely cannibalized Yahoo's search business. By trying to save $2 billion, Yahoo effectively signed their own death warrant, but their talent for alienating the future wasn't limited to search engines. Let's talk about social media. The year is 2006. Social networking is the new frontier. MySpace is dominant, but there's a new, exclusive platform spreading like wildfire through college campuses. It's called the Facebook. Its founder, Mark Zuckerberg, is just 22 years old. He's under immense pressure from his investors to cash out. Yahoo sees an opportunity. They swoop in and offer exactly $1 billion for Facebook. It's a massive number. For a 22-year-old kid, it's life-changing. Generational wealth. Zuckerberg genuinely considers taking the deal. The paperwork is drafted. The champagne is practically on ice. But right before the ink dries, Yahoo reports its quarterly earnings. They miss their target slightly, and Yahoo's stock price takes a temporary dip. Instead of looking at the long-term vision, Yahoo's executives panic over the short-term optics. They go back to Zuckerberg and attempt to renegotiate. They lower their offer from $1 billion to $850 million. It wasn't just a bad business move. It was a psychological blunder of epic proportions. To drop the price over a temporary stock blip felt cheap. It felt petty. To Mark Zuckerberg, it felt like a personal insult. He didn't just reject the $850 million. He stood up, walked out of the negotiating room, and effectively banned Yahoo from ever discussing an acquisition again. Yahoo tried to save $150 million. Today, Meta is worth over $1.2 trillion. While they were fumbling the future of search and social media, what exactly was happening inside Yahoo's headquarters? Absolute, unmitigated chaos. The company was suffering from a terminal identity crisis. They were trying to be a tech company like Google, a media conglomerate like Disney, and a portal like AOL, all at the same time. In 2006, a Yahoo executive named Brad Garlinghouse wrote a now infamous internal memo called the Peanut Butter Manifesto. He warned leadership that Yahoo was spreading its resources too thin, like peanut butter on bread. They had no focus, no clear vision, and no champion product. They were trying to do everything, which meant they were succeeding at nothing. To fix their image and look cool to younger demographics, Yahoo began aggressively buying up trendy startups. It became known in Silicon Valley as the startup graveyard. They would acquire brilliant teams, absorb them into their bureaucratic, slow-moving corporate machine, and slowly suffocate them to death. The most agonizing example happened in 2013 under CEO Marissa Mayer. Yahoo paid a staggering $1.1 billion for the blogging platform Tumblr. It was a catastrophic culture clash. Tumblr was raw, artistic, and fiercely independent. Yahoo was a dinosaur trying to figure out how to monetize teenagers. Yahoo immediately tried to force traditional, clunky corporate advertising onto a platform that hated corporate advertising. The user base revolted, the traffic plummeted. Within a few years, Yahoo had to write down almost the entire value of Tumblr. They bought it for over $1 billion. Years later, it was sold off for an estimated $3 million. They had evaporated $1 billion of value simply by not understanding their own customers. But the defining moment, the exact second the coffin was nailed shut, happened in 2008. Microsoft, terrified of Google's growing monopoly, decided they needed to buy their way into the search market. They looked at a weakening Yahoo and offered a lifeline. Microsoft CEO Steve Ballmer offered to buy Yahoo for $44.6 billion. That was $31 a share, a massive 62% premium over what the stock was currently trading at. It was an incredibly generous exit strategy for a company that was clearly losing the war. What did Yahoo's board of directors and co-founder Jerry Yang do? They scoffed. They publicly and arrogantly rejected the offer, stating that Microsoft substantially undervalued the Yahoo brand. It was the ultimate delusion. They still believed it was 1998. The market punished them instantly. The stock collapsed, investors revolted, and the Microsoft deal was pulled from the table forever. But behind the scenes, something much darker was brewing, something that would permanently destroy whatever trust the brand had left. In 2013 and 2014, Yahoo suffered a massive cybersecurity breach. Hackers infiltrated their systems. How many accounts were compromised? 1 million? 10 million? No, 3 billion. Every single Yahoo account in existence. Names, email addresses, phone numbers, birth dates, encrypted passwords. It remains the largest data breach in the history of the internet. But the real crime wasn't the hack. It was the cover-up. Yahoo executives kept the true scale of the disaster hidden from the public, and more importantly, from their investors, for years. When the truth finally came out, the game was over. Corporate culture was dead. The brand was toxic. The executives were rotating through the revolving door of leadership, desperately trying to bail water out of a submarine. And so, we arrive at 2016, the humiliating finale. Verizon swoops in and buys the shattered remains of Yahoo's core internet business for just $4.8 billion. They even used the data breach as leverage to slash $350 million off the final price. From a $125 billion Titan, to a $44 billion rejected lifeboat, to a $4.8 billion fire sale. What is the ultimate autopsy of Yahoo? It comes down to 3 fatal diseases. First, the penny pincher's dilemma. They treated generation-defining acquisitions like they were haggling at a flea market. They lost Google over $2 billion. They lost Facebook over $150 million. They wanted to win the internet on a discount, and it cost them everything. Second, the identity void. If you don't know what your company is, your customers won't either. While Google focused ruthlessly on search, and Facebook focused ruthlessly on connection, Yahoo tried to be a jack of all trades, and ended up a master of none. Third, institutional arrogance. When a competitor offers you $44 billion to save your life, you take it. Yahoo's leadership was blinded by the ghosts of their past success. They fell in love with their own legacy instead of adapting to their current reality. Yahoo is no longer a titan of industry. Today, they are a footnote, a business school case study on what happens when fear of the future, toxic management, and sheer arrogance are allowed to run an empire. They had the winning lottery tickets to the 21st century in their hands, not once, not twice, but 3 times. And every single time, they threw them in the trash.